Hey folks, it's Jang here from ultimaterc.com, and this video was taken during the process of actually building up my associated SC10 4x4 kit, and I want to cover the topic of how to fit a Novak HV or Ballistic 550 motor into this truck. It's not a straightforward process. It can be done, but it does require a little bit of modification. First problem that you have is if you follow the instructions for building up the kit, you've got your chassis almost in rolling chassis status before they say to put the motor in. And once you try to do that with this really long can of the Novak motor, try to insert it, and then you have a little bit of issue back here where the end bell just will not go in. It takes a little bit of disassembly actually to get to the point where you can put that in. I've already done that disassembly here, but basically what you need to do is, I'll just point out the screws that you need to completely loosen. You need to loosen these two center ones all the way, just completely almost take them out. You've got the ones right here coming from the top that attach the rear chassis section to the center, and then you also have one right here which has a lock nut on the other side. You have one on the opposite side. Again, the same thing, lock nut on the other side. Once you loosen all those up, and you don't need to do any others, that will allow you to separate the rear of the chassis just a little bit, like so. And that's all you need, just the ability to just get a little bit of movement in there, a little bit of flex. And that's going to allow you to slide this can in by just flexing that rear part of the chassis a little bit, and actually getting it in from the back just a bit. Easier said than done, but believe me, it will work. Bend it back a little bit. And there we go. Okay, yeah, not easy, but as you can see, it will fit in there. However, there is still a little bit of a problem. There is some rub that's going on underneath of here that's going to really fight having this this motor sit in properly once it gets tightened up onto the motor mount itself. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this back out. As rough as it is to do this process, but there we go. Pull it back out, and what I've done down in here, hoping you can see this on camera, is you can see a light colored area in there. I've just painted this up with a paint marker, a silver paint marker. I've just covered it up. It's an area of the rear chassis section where I'm actually getting the rub. The rub is actually of the end bell of this Novak motor against the side in there. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And if you look in there, you can see that there are a couple of lines. What I did was I put the motor in and then just rubbed it back and forth to inscribe the areas that are rubbing. It just takes off the paint there. And you can see there's a little bit down here, and there's a bunch back here against the edge. So you're just going to want to take a rotary tool like a Dremel and put a round-ended bit on that, and just take off some material from these two areas to allow that end bell to sit in there more comfortably. Take off as little as you can. You might want to just go back and forth, trying it, take off maybe about a 1/16 of an inch or maybe 1.5 millimeters. Try the motor, see how well it sits in there. There's not a whole lot of extra material here. There is some, but you really don't want to weaken this if you can afford to. Basically any material that you take away is bad, so take away just as little as you possibly can. All right, and there is the aftermath. You can ignore these new little lines I put in there. That was just to see if there was any rubbing against this sort of angled surface here, and there was none. And these are the two bits that I used. This was the main one that I focused on just because it has a round tip to it. I ended up cleaning up the other cut a little bit with this because it has a flat end where I just came in straight from the top and just kind of used it like a router. And there's now very little rubbing in there. It's definitely not keeping the motor from doing what I need it to do, which is to sit in there flat against the motor mount. Now, depending upon the gear ratio that you're going to use, what pinion that you're going to use, which of course is going to depend upon your track and how good your batteries are, and also which of the HV motors that you are using, you may actually need to take some material out from back here, or actually it's forward. This is the forward end, where you still see some of that silver remaining. You may need to take some of that out. The good news is that there's actually extra thickness all along this whole ridge. There's extra thickness of material. So taking it out is not actually going to thin the chassis any thinner than the tub is across most of it. And especially if you go forward to allow you to use larger pinions, then there's not much worry of losing structural integrity on this side. But now I can fit this guy in here, and again, with a little bit of creative positioning and flexing this out a little bit helps to move the motor upwards. Of course, it's upside down now, so you're not really going to see that, but there we go. Slid in there, and you can see that that's going to come back up. As we'll turn it right side up for you guys. You can see that that's going to come back together. The whole chassis is going to fit together the way that you want it to, and I will be able to rotate the motor around till I can get to the mounting screws, and you should be able to see that there. This needs to be pushed a little bit, but now you can fit this motor that some time ago folks were saying you cannot fit in this vehicle. It is possible, it just requires a little bit of modification, and especially to get it in there at all, even with the mods, you will have to loosen up or remove all of the screws that hold the rear of the chassis onto the main chassis, and then you are set and you are golden with a longer can motor. Hope that was very useful for you guys. Be on the lookout for more SC10 related videos on my channel, and subscribe please to the Ultimate RC Network YouTube channel if you've not already. And if you have any tips and tricks of your own to share, or if you want to ask other questions of other folks in the RC community worldwide, be sure to stop by the friendly forums at ultimaterc.com, where everyone of every level of experience is perfectly welcome, and there is no such thing as a stupid question. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.